Hello, welcome to this talk. We're going to work on tritone substitutions and talk about the concept behind them. So maybe a little theory, and then we'll take some practical steps to play these on the guitar. And so let's begin by discussing a little bit about G. I just released a short on this, so maybe you saw that. So we have G7 here, and I'm playing a drop 3 voicing on strings 5, 4, 3, and 2 here at position 3. We take a listen to strings 4 and 3. We have this tritone interval, and when you flip this around by, let's say, going up an octave, you get sort of the same inversion. So you get the same interval, right? So let's take one that's not like this. So let's say we had F and a C. So that interval is a perfect fifth from string 4 to string 3. Now, if we take each one of these notes up an octave, kind of flip them around, then we're going to have C and F. See, now we have the same two notes, but we have a different interval. It's a perfect fourth. So that's a very important aspect of the tritone and has to do with why this works the way it does. So we get F to B is the same musical interval or distance as B to F. So F to B, B to F. Okay. So that being the case, if we have G, F, B, that is going to be very similar to taking a tritone away from the root note now. We have D flat, F, and B. Okay, so we end up with the same type of chord, but now it sort of has a new name, so it can stand in or substitute for the other one. So if we're going to a C6, let's say, then we could get there from the G7 to the C6, or we could get there from the D flat 7 to the C6. I'm going to move up the neck a little bit here and go to a G7 in position 9. And I'm just playing a basic shell voicing here. So I have G, B, and F. So same thing here. If I have the B and the F and replace the G with a D flat, I have a D flat 7, but it has those same two notes in common on the middle two strings, right? So again, going to C6, then we have G7 to C6, D flat 7 to C6. So it has a very similar role to play there, but we have different root notes. You can use these to substitute, of course. You can also use these to just create tension through your playing. So you can maybe use that as a bass line or something along those lines. So that's the basic idea of it. Now you can get into some more detail on how to name each note. So for example, on the G7, the G F and B makes a lot of sense. But on the D flat, might actually think of this note as a C flat, right? So you have D flat, F, C flat. Right. Also, another little aspect of things, we have a G7, we have a root, flat 7, and a major third. When you use the D flat, those two notes are going to swap around as they relate to the chord. So now we have the root note, major third, and then the flat 7. Okay. So same thing up here if we move up. Okay, so we have the root third, the flat 7, whereas on the D flat 7 we have the root flat 7 third. So the names of those two notes there, the third and the seventh, get swapped around, but the notes themselves remain the same. But it's just how you think of it relative to a root note. Now we also get into the extensions, right? Which I talked a little bit on that short on YouTube. So you can play, let's say, keep G, play maybe all the 13s, 9. Let's say we'll keep it real kind of basic. Then your tritone substitution is going to be very altered, right? So the D flat will have a sharp 9, and a flat 9. If you're trying to hold on to the same or similar collection of notes. So let's say, for example, you've got G7 and you're maybe in your practice session, you're working on the Lydian dominant sort of sound. So then you're surveying through, we've got 13, sharp 11, 9, right? So you're working with all those. And then you try to use the same collection of notes, and you look at it from the perspective of the D flat. So then you get the altered scale. So right, like we said before, all of a sudden you have sharp 5s and flat 5s and sharp 9s and flat 9s. So I'd recommend really working on that those melodic minor modes of the Superlocrian and the Lydian dominant, which is the same note collection from both perspectives of this chord. So G13 with the sharp 11, the 9, all that. That's gonna be Lydian dominant in this example, and then the D flat, you'll be thinking about the Superlocrian, or what's oftentimes called the altered scale. So those are two that I would recommend really spending some time working at. So one of the benefits of doing this is that you can take something that's fairly consonant and really kind of dial up the dissonance by taking the tritone away, and all of a sudden everything is altered, or most things might be altered depending on what you're using for extensions. But that's kind of the idea there on the tritone. So some things I would consider studying and working on. Think about the interval of the augmented fourth and the diminished fifth, and look at that in a particular key center, like key of C, and then you'll notice that that interval really only comes up once between the two given notes, F and B or B and F. Everything else is fifths or fourths as far as the intervals in the key, right? And then just start to think about the tritone away from that for a dominant seventh. So let's say the D flat 7, you have the F and the C flat, kind of technically. And that key to examine is the key of G flat major, which has 6 flats. You can also think about that one in terms of F sharp major and think about C sharp 7. So there are 3 key centers that have two names, duplicate names on those, but F sharp is probably going to be a little more common as you play tunes. But anyway, so yeah, so that's the idea, and that's going to be our talk for today. Thanks so much for listening, and please do like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow me there, and coming out with some new shorts type videos and full-length videos as well, of course. Just came out with one on Cry Me a River. And I think this week on the podcast, we're going to spend some time looking at that tune, Cry Me a River. All right, everybody. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one.